The crypto market is about to turn into the Wild West, and I'm not a financial advisor, but let me tell you, it could get really crazy up in here. And yes, I am really excited about the next couple of days for the market. As it currently stands, and maybe this is just an opinion that I have alone, but as it currently stands, it really looks as if something crazy is about to happen. Especially as we're all waiting for the exact same event, and the Bitcoin price is trading significantly higher than we all anticipated for this early after such a massive liquidation event. So I'm wondering if the price slowly but surely is already trading this quote-unquote high, above $89,000, matter of fact, at 91.3. And we're all looking for the exact same event, the rate cut decision on the 10th of December. What's about to happen in the meantime? Well, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you press that like button if you haven't done it yet, and make sure you join the Discord if you haven't done it yet. A link for that is down below. It's absolutely free, of course. And the main reason I'm asking you guys to join that right now is because I've had a little issue. If you do not know, I made a video just now that unfortunately was apparently not good within the system. It was, of course, but automated systems sometimes wreck it, I guess. Regardless, if you want to help me out, I will leave a link to the Discord down below. You can find everything, or just find X. You can find it down below. I don't want to talk about it too much here in the video. It's ridiculous, but I hope that the platform here will come to their senses. I really hope so. I really do. Regardless, it made me realize, if this channel ever slips away from my freaking hands, where else can you find it? Well, that's why I said Discord is a pretty nice platform. X nowadays could be pretty nice, because what if all of a sudden I make no video? It's not going to be because of me, all right? I'm here every single day, shut up, every single day looking at these crypto charts. I told y'all, once you get into this realm of crypto stuff, you are addicted, you're hooked. There's literally 0% chance you can ever escape from looking at these charts. Yeah, send some freaking support. Regardless, today, not that much of an eventful day, right? You would all say. But slowly but surely, Bitcoin is crawling back up, right now sitting at $91.4 thousand. And like I said before, it's trading at a significantly higher price than most of the analysts that were talking about the price were estimating it was going to be at just last week. As again, the most important range was like 81 to 89. We were all talking about it. Then it got kind of changed to 84 to 100 based on options. And right now I'm saying, well, since we already broken above 90,000, most of the altcoins, however, did not feel that push. And this is mostly happening in a time where stocks are not even trading. As today, obviously, stocks did not trade because of Thanksgiving. And tomorrow we only have a short day. And afterwards we have the weekend. I do wonder if this is, again, going to be a small period here where we can see Bitcoin's direction without that much influx from these AI stocks, without that much influx from the NASDAQ. And very often what you see is that when you get a little bit of time to consolidate, a little bit of sideways trading, that afterwards it is followed by a pretty massive impulse. And again, what we're seeing right now is not completely sideways. It's got an upward bias, but overall, you can see almost no coin is outside of that +1 or -1% range, which basically we consider to be sideways trading. And it also does make a little bit of sense, because if you start breaking it down, nobody seems to know the next direction. There's a lot of people calling for the bear market here to have started, and there's a lot of people saying, no, this was just a dip, the dip is over, and we're going crazy from here. I am not really on either of these sides. Matter of fact, I am more towards the side of saying, no, this was a dip, and you would have gotten a pretty juicy buy-in if you were paying enough attention, and oh boy, this was so freaking cheap. But on the opposite side, I'm also realistic in saying any one decision from Mr. Orange Man, Mr. Trump here, could definitely be very detrimental to our coins pretty quickly. And from almost any angle as well, we have not really broken any of the crucial resistances. We are still basically in the same package. The only thing is, we found a nice bottom at some moving averages, a nice bottom in the sense that we got too oversold of an area. We had a good bounce. However, again, I'm just being realistic here. It is going to have to do with the fact that we need to get above these previous heights. So maybe around 100,000 as a start, but let's just say really 105,000 or so to confirm the bull run is still going on, in my own humble opinion. And now another interesting question does become, and a lot of people have been asking me this, what is the probability of a scenario like in 2021, where the previous top, in this case here, was like 125, and then the top right now that we shall make is going to be like 133, something like that, before the bear market really starts. And I just argue back saying, as long as we get to at least above 105, I'm not really going to question any single part of the rest of the run. I personally think altcoins will thrive regardless of what happens to Bitcoin here, as long as they're able to break above these key levels. And perhaps it's going to really happen quicker than you can imagine. Why am I saying that? Well, because if you look back at this move, for example, right? Do you understand just how quickly Bitcoin shot back up from these lows. Here, you may say, oh, but it took 120 days to come back from bottom. If you really start breaking it down, 120 days is over before you know it. It could happen that we get those highs before March, so basically even in Q1 of 2026. If we're talking Bitcoin, but things can even go crazier. If we're talking XRP, take a look at this, right? We've gone from 40, 50 cents all the way towards like $3 in a span of just 28 days. That's 500% that it went up in just 28 days. Things can really happen a lot faster than many realize. And even now, after this dip, for example, you can see XRP had a pretty massive correction afterwards. Let's just call it from the lowest weekly close to another almost all-time high, basically. 64% gains again within 1 month. Or here again, after that dip, let's see. Once more, roughly 100% gains in just 28 days after the low was hit. Matter of fact, after the prices that we are currently at were hit, it only took 28 days to get to that top. And again, when you really start looking at it, the structure we saw back there, is actually pretty similar to potentially the run-up that we could be seeing right here. Nothing is necessarily taking us away from having a similar sort of redemption. Again, it looks more like what we saw back here, but there's nothing stopping us from, again, having a massively wonderful 28 days here. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to once more say, nothing I say in these videos is financial advice. Nothing I talk about here is anything else other than just my own strategies, my own thoughts, my own observations. And everything here should be taken with an entertainment context or potentially seen as informative in nature. Nothing here is advice. I'm just sharing my thoughts on the market, what I think is wise. And of course, there's a link down below to the platform I personally trade on. And I'll quickly quote my disclaimer here because, well, as you've seen now, the last couple of days, it's been tough, right? I'm never promising you'll make any gains. All my videos are for education and informative purposes. I'm showing you what I'm doing, sharing my thoughts. I should have been an S there. No guarantees of profit are made. I just want to quickly once more share that, even though it's always in multiple disclaimers in the description, always. No, I actually can't get enough. But please, guys, if you have 1 minute, please actually go over to my X and tag YouTube creators and Team YouTube under this post. It's pinned to my profile. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I really don't think this is fair. I really think we should get their attention somehow. Please help me out. Link for that will be down below. Just find my Twitter, you know. Again, I don't want to give it too much attention because I do not know if this is allowed to talk about, but I think so. And if all of a sudden someday you don't see me posting for a week, just know that they probably got me for, again, some nonsense reason, and it's going to take some time again for them to rectify their mistake. Anyway, as I already described earlier, I really want to make this quite clear, though. If you have no idea what's happening on December 10th, it's the Federal Reserve interest rate decision. Now, why this is so crucial is because, generally speaking, we see the interest rate cut as an extremely bullish event, which, by the way, about 2 weeks ago was at 40% of a chance. Right now, it's at almost 90% of a chance. The probability of a cut is almost, I don't want to say the word, but it's very, very likely. And we almost always see this as a majorly bullish event, especially when we consider the recent times. Why? Well, because when you think about it, any rate cut incentivizes spending, and for some longer drawn-out reason, it's a bit of a circle, but it basically helps the economy out with a nice little boost. Logically, think about it like this. If you've got a very, very high interest rate, you're less likely to spend the money now because you can actually save and get a good yield. And also from another perspective, if you want to start a new project, you want to build a whole new plaza, you want to build a new shopping mall, but you have to pay 7% instead of 1.1%, well, maybe you'll do that in the future. You're going to extend that consumption or production into a later stage. Lower interest rates, generally speaking, have a more thriving environment. Now, a part of the way off, of course, is if you're doing all that, are you not making the inflation problem worse? And there's other measures then to put the inflation more into place, even though theoretically speaking, this is literally one of the causes of inflation, right? Because, well, the more people spend, the more potentially production you've got, the more consumption you've got, everything. It's a little circle upwards of things getting more expensive because, well, there's more demand for it. There's more production, which in turn, again, is more demand. You get it. Just generally speaking, a more thriving environment always has some inflation to some extent. And the idea is to keep it balanced, where it's not at zero because you still want to, level up the game, so to speak, but also it's not too high so things stay affordable. And we've got a 2-week countdown here for that event. And trust me when I say that there's probably nothing else that I'm more carefully watching than this countdown and any single percentage change in this, especially now that we have about 4 days basically of nothingness in the markets. I know we have a small Friday here, a small little session in the stock market, but I'm going to guess that really Now, of course, today, actually, matter of fact, I'm thinking about it. Since today had a no action day because of Thanksgiving, tomorrow we have a shorter day. It could actually already be that if stocks like the AI stocks like Google, Nvidia, AMD take a big hit here, or there's another article popping up about AI chips or something stupid of that sort, you can actually expect a pretty significant move. Why? Because even though Bitcoin has underperformed NASDAQ for 70% of the days over the past month, there has been a pretty clear correlation. And again, this correlation does not always stand. Matter of fact, a lot of the on days, the positive days for NASDAQ were actually negative days for Bitcoin recently, or were actually positive days to a lesser extent, which usually is different, right? I am again saying right here that if NASDAQ, any of the major AI stocks, anything in that sort, has any sort of bad announcement, really quickly here, most likely this could cause our Bitcoin wave, our newfound bullish momentum to be abrupted. And this could be really quite crucially bad because, well, this is the area where potentially people are starting to price in that FOMC meeting, which again will most likely be bullish. But since the number is already at 90, it's not again at that 50, 40, 60, 70% anymore like it was last week. The probability of this is very high. Again, remember, if we expect a bullish event to happen in the near future, very often people are buying into that event and selling the event itself. It's this rumor of, or this idea of buy the rumors, sell the news. Right now, if we're at 90%, and very likely, there's a good amount of people who are buying basically into this. And it could be that right now we're getting a bit of a fake out where the market is doing too well for its own good, mostly because of the 10th of December. And there's a slight potentially sell-off happening right after or on that date. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because the reason I'm thinking this could actually be something really quite bullish, if we do not get that correction right now because of any announcement coming in the next, let's call it 12 or 14 hours, let's say 16 hours here or so, nothing bad happening. So Bitcoin most likely stays flat with a slight bullish incline because we've got this major bullish event coming up. A lot of people buying it up. Again, potentially an easy road towards the $93,000 range. And then from this angle, again, or from this spot, we're going to have to kind of figure out a direction. I'm saying that if on or around that day, we don't actually see a massive sell-off because of this buy the rumors, sell the news, then this could actually lead into, again, another scenario where a lot of these lost buyers, these people who've lost their confidence, slowly but surely come back in. Because at that point, the whole pricing in the Fed rate cut now is gone. And now, again, we're just preparing ourselves basically for what? The next year, the next season? For what? You could argue that we're preparing ourselves for MicroStrategy's denomination of whether or not they're going to be a fund or a company coming in, I believe, the 10th of January 2026. But I don't think that's what people are pricing in for Bitcoin right now. Matter of fact, I do not think it will be that big a concern, but we shall see over some time. Another funny thing I'll mention here, just really briefly, is do you guys understand that just because we're talking here a lot about Bitcoin doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin is going to be most interesting in all this? It just means that that's the one that's going to set the trend. But realistically here, today, Bitcoin has sparked a lot of interest, sure. But if you look at the week, for example, it's done okay, but it's actually one of the worst performers. For example, XRP basically beat those results by double. And if we take a look at everything here, there's almost... Yeah, Bitcoin is actually not in the top of the top, not even in the top 20 of performers. Even Solana and ETH actually outperformed it. Here's again the kicker. Just because I'm talking primarily here about Bitcoin breaking that range and yabba-dibba-doo, don't actually mean that I think Bitcoin is most exciting. And I've seen over the past 48 hours, all of a sudden, a lot of content creators talking again about this, buying altcoins. I'm not the biggest fan of it yet, but as long as Bitcoin doesn't show a lot of weakness here, we don't get any sort of bad news in AI and bubbles and AI and NASDAQ and whatnot, it may actually be a good idea to buy some solid top tier altcoins. Again, I'm talking about from personal perspective, no advice to you, and potentially get that extra little step upwards. Because obviously Bitcoin, we always say it, it's good for setting the direction. It's not necessarily that good for making schmeckles. Mostly altcoins outperform severely. And of course, the negative side being they underperform when the market goes against us. But in times like this, you can see a 𝗕𝗂 with 44% up in the week. These coins just, from risk reward perspective, sometimes make a lot of sense. And that's actually a video I made last week as well. When Bitcoin fell that day, I made a video saying, hey, risk reward right now for altcoins is really insane. Made a full video talking about it. And now it showcases again that even if you did not catch every single one of them, or you caught a few that did not actually perform as well. You, for example, went for a Doge, a 𝗬𝗎, and then for one of these top tier coins. The thing is, maybe because of averaging, it would have actually still worked out really nicely if you caught, for example, a 𝗕𝗂, that you'd still outperform Bitcoin. But again, right now is not the time to focus on alts. I'm just saying, again, this could be a time where if Bitcoin does not slow down here, or at least if it does not have a major crash, altcoins could again be a good potential. But this run, I'm a lot more skeptical, at least in the foreseeable future, for smaller and smaller cap alts. All those I'm completely away from all the way. I'm only talking about the top of the top of the top tier. Everything smaller, everything I cannot instantly recognize, I'm not touching with a 30-foot pole until the market is back in green territory. But that, again, is not happening until at least 20,000 more in BTC. Like, we're not there, right? I'm not touching any small altcoin with a 30-foot stick until we've got some more confirmations, but we're not there yet. Anyway, I just wanted to quickly make this video saying, hey, today, like within 24 hours, very interesting, because the stock market opening up for a short amount of time. Be careful. Anything there, we've only got a short amount of time. Any decision that gets made potentially might not have enough time to turn that around. Keep it in the back of your head. And more importantly, like there's literally nothing else to watch out for until December 10th. They all may call out and say this and that and this and no. Realistically, it's only a question of, do we think that people will start pricing this in pretty early or already doing that since we changed percentages from 40 to 90 something or 80 something? Or are we saying that no, they're actually not pricing it in yet? Because first of all, we've got some more trading that's coming up. Second of all, because of all this extra pressure from the AI bubble bursting, etc. Or the answer is just simply, yes, they're starting to price it in already, which is why Bitcoin is surviving this. However, the counter will be, no, they're not pricing it in yet. Bitcoin is surviving here because it just dipped so low because of all this liquidity issue that we had from the 10th to the 10th here. I mean, our option video I made yesterday described how right now between, I'm going to say, $84,000 and $100,000 is basically the no man's land where it can trade up and down without really proving or showing anything. However, the fact that we broke above 89,000, there was a range, $81,000 to $89,000, that was basically most crucial for Bitcoin. Since we already broke above it the day that analysis and that whole thought process came out, it showcased a lot of strength in BTC that was not really expected. And from that angle, since we had a positive close instantly the same day, which was yesterday, today probably another pretty massive close, maybe even above $91.5 thousand. Well, is the fear potentially kind of behind us? Because to me, it does feel like it a little bit. Anyway, those are a little bit rambling thoughts. Market's generally good though. I'm happy with it. I'm solid. I'm not as scared as I was last week, but I do realize again that some bad things may be on the horizon. And the thing is, we just adapt and react to whatever happens. And we accept it all because we know where we're headed to eventually. At least those are my thoughts. And you know what? That's about it.